When you know where the looks are going to come from, that tells me what sort of activations brands are going to have. Oh my God, I don't know if I would leave South London. We did have an idea once for Stormzy. If you can get into a Target, for example, that's like thousands and thousands of stores. The alcohol space is evolving. Gen Z are taking charge of what that looks like.
Hey London Business Babe. This community is built for us and by us to ungatekeep your next move and life in the city. If you never want to miss out, subscribe to the Substack where episodes will land straight in your inbox. Plus, every other Monday, you'll get a chance to feature on the show by shouting yourself out in the Manifest Monday email. You never know who's listening. Details in the show notes. Now, grab a cup of coffee or your favourite beverage and let's get into today's interview. Welcome to Coffee and Oysters, the London Business Babe podcast, where we get you together with business tips that actually work and let you know where it's worth tapping your oysters around this city. Super excited to have today's guest. Today's guest is Grace Bryan, who is the co-founder and CEO of Juicy Brick, a London-based creative agency building innovative food and beverage brands. With expertise in trend forecasting, innovation strategy, and product development, she helps founders to global companies bring ideas to life, drawing on her background in hospitality and disruptive CPG growth. Woo! Super excited to have you here. I am like such a CPG nerd. Not many people know this, so I'm especially happy to have you here. I came to your Trend Report event last year, and I just fell in love with what you do, and I was like, I need to get you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you. Well, that was when I was thrusted into being the host at like 5 minutes before the start, and I was like, I am not prepared for this.
No one would have known, to be honest.
But yeah, it was so lovely to meet you there. And then when you asked me to come on the podcast, I was like, yes, absolutely. I feel like we could talk for hours, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, so like I feel like a lot of people don't know just how vast and like niche and really interesting the CPG world, especially when you come to like disruptive brands and challenger brands and like the whole innovation side of things. And like you started out in like hospitality, corporate events. How do you jump from events over here to like building really cool food products?
It was like a very big, I was in the right place at the right time sort of situation. I feel like my entire career has been that, actually, because when I was out of school, I was like definitely going to university. My friends, I think everyone just knew I was gonna go. I was not like book smart. I really had to like work getting like a C. And I went to go to uni. I chose Bournemouth, and then I didn't get the accommodation I wanted, and threw a massive hissy fit and was like, I'm not going. They wanted to put me in a house like 20 minutes down from the centre, and I was like, oh, Mum, I'm not going. So my mum was like, okay, fine, don't go, but like go next year, and you need to work. That's the promise. You have to get a job of some kind or an apprenticeship or experience while you're not at university. And I was like, okay, fine. And I went on to, this is how old school this is, I was on Gumtree, and a company was advertising like an event coordinator, like apprentice thing. And I went for the job interview, which is funny enough, the girl that interviewed me there is one of my like long-term friends. She's amazing. But I went for this interview to do an apprentice, and then they ended up offering me a job. I mean, I say a job, but it was definitely under what you should be paying someone as an annual salary. However, it really got me into the world of what I wanted to do. And I started working in events, which was like a venue finding service. And I got to know all of London's venues. I got to know the managers of those venues. I got to take clients who, at my point when I was doing it, was like a 30th birthday party and like those sort of experiences. And I just grew my understanding of, I suppose, consumer and customer management, and like how to deal with interacting with people when I was 18 that were like 40, 50, how to interact with those people. And when it came to, okay, it's time to go to university, I was like, why would I do that when I'm already in that space? And my next job after that was someone that I met through that company because they were a venue. So I worked with them for a bit. And then I worked at the Hippodrome Casino, and that is where I learned so much about hospitality, about back of house operations, you know, costings, how a kitchen is actually run. I learned so much in that space that I think when you understand that stuff, you can adapt that operational know-how into so many other spaces. And then from there, I ended up meeting Melanie, who's one of my business partners. But before that, she owned a business, which was very much startup called Smith and Sinclair. And we met randomly at a networking event that I was not meant to be at. I was not invited. I was not a guest. But my best friend used to run Carnaby Street, the eating sort of food and beverage side of it. And she had a empty unit in Carnaby, and she had let this event group use it for the evening. And she was like, "Oh, we were going for dinner." And she said, "Oh, can we just pop in and basically just say hi and put my face to it so they know who I am?" And I was like, "Sure." And then she went in the room and there was someone at the door, and we ended up talking and realized we were both from Northwest London, and we really got on and swapped details and was like, "We should keep in touch." And that was Melanie. And we kept in touch after I moved to another company, which was a hospitality consultancy, which basically brought new restaurants to life. So then I even understood further about hospitality, because that was the ground up, from like architectural design through to, you know, physical building, and then getting bums on seats of a brand new concept that people didn't know. And we started helping her out with some events that she was doing food wise. And then one day she was like, "Do you want to come and work for me?" And I was like, "I feel like you have no money." She was like, "I don't have any money." So we just stayed in touch. And then eventually she had money and she was like, "Come and work for me." So my entire career has been meeting really great people that I've really liked, and then been given an opportunity to interview or have a job with those people, learn, and then sort of move on from the next thing. But Melanie is now my business partner in Juicy Brick. She's one of the four of us. So that relationship grew into this basically. So it's all a bit of an accident, but I think everything I learned in hospitality is really a lot to do about how I understand operations in bars, particularly when we do stuff with like alcohol brands, but also from understanding how to handle customers. Because let me tell you now, when you are frontline in a restaurant or a bar and someone isn't happy, my goodness, you will find out how to deal with unhappy people, because they are some of the most unhappy people in the world. Someone has
Yeah.
a meal, they're going to tell you about it. And I feel like that has been a lesson that I've really taken with how to manage consumers and client management.
No, honestly, I'm a big believer that, I mean, from my own personal experience and it just validating from your personal experience, that everyone should work in events and everyone should work in hospitality at some point.
It thickens your skin to
You can deal with
chef.
anything.
Like if you can deal with a chef, like you can deal with anyone. I have been screamed at by chefs. I have had things thrown at me. Like in that environment, I'm like, if you can handle a chef, I really think you can handle most things in life. Because I mean, maybe it's changed now. We're all a bit calmer, maybe, but yeah, I think if you can handle a chef, you can handle most things. And again, customers, I think if you worked in that sort of space, I think it's similar maybe with retail, but I think hospitality is a different beast, because you're serving food and people are passionate about food and quality and price. So if you do something wrong, they're immediate to tell you that's not right, and you have to deal with it on the spot.
Yeah. And so let's dig more into food. Like, where did this love of food or interest in food come from? Is this something that you were maybe interested in as a kid and you've kind of gone back to it? But it's, again, it's quite a niche industry to go into, food and innovation. So where did that come from for you?
I was always a really picky eater, like a really
Mm.
picky eater. And then as I grew up, I got more into food. But I think, in all honesty, it probably wasn't the food side that drove me. It was probably more the alcohol side. That I loved cocktails. I loved the way that you could bring an experience to a cocktail, and how that, you know, one simple garnish made something really cool, and you could, you know, really draw people in with what you were doing with that offering. Food was something secondary, I think, to me, that I really started to enjoy. And when I started working in, for example, this hospitality consultancy company, I spent a lot of time with the chef, and I started to actually learn about food and beverage, rather than just like going to a tasting and just having opinions on things that I had no idea what was. I learned from chefs, and I feel like I learned more again operationally from chefs then, and then the sort of enjoyment of food and understanding it came through in a bigger way when I started to lean more into CPG, because I actually had to understand the breakdown of ingredients, the way that it was going to be produced. And again, I think the understanding of back of house was probably something that I enjoyed more, that led into what I was doing. Because now I can really appreciate the craft of something. If something's served and they're like, oh, it's, if you go to a Michelin star restaurant, I went to Evelyn's table in Soho, which is underneath the Blue Post pub, and I think it's a 12-seater Michelin star restaurant. And watching them serve food is like art. Like, it's so beautiful, and every element of what they do, they know where it's sourced from, they know how it's going to be plated. Like, I have such respect for that, and I really enjoy seeing that come to life. So I think food was almost like a secondary thing for me. I think the booze is
Mm.
what captured me. And then food got me in. But now I'm here, I really appreciate when I see something that's crafted, either in CPG, which is like maybe they've done an unusual flavor. Like, you have to really push the boundaries and have someone really believe in your vision to do something so
Mm.
unusual. Or whether it's like it's just something that's made really well. I can really appreciate the behind the scenes that go into that to make that product come to life.
Yeah, and for people who aren't following you on LinkedIn and are interested in this world, they should 100% be following you because you always post like really cool things that catch your eye that a
Very
week.
three things. Do you know what? That started like 2 years ago, and I was like, I don't know how to start this. I just wrote that, and then I was like, that seems to do the job. So,
Yeah, that
well,
is it.
and I tried to really religiously post every Friday. I didn't post last Friday. Oh no, I did. I did post last Friday, the Friday before I didn't. But I really tried to keep as strong as possible with that. So I've got a constant flow, but I really enjoy doing that. And for me, it's really important that I'm always looking at what's new, because if you're going to promote yourself as an innovation agency, you should be pretty innovative and know what's going on. So that side of what we do, and those Friday posts, and we do a quarterly juicy news update, a monthly juicy news update, they're really integral to us and having people trust that we know what we're talking about because we're ahead of the curve.
And you're like pretty bang on, to be fair. Like, I went to your trend report event last year, and some of the trends that you were talking about, I'm seeing them now on the high street. I'm like, oh yeah, especially like the GLP-1 trend. I think you were
Yeah,
saying the how supermarkets and so forth were going to start catering more to
right side,
people.
everything.
Yeah, and like
Mhm.
here goes M&S with their nutrient dense range, and I was like, oh yeah.
Always really satisfying when you like sometimes it can be a bit nerve-wracking when you do a trend report, because you're like, oh my god, what if everything's wrong? Like,
Yeah.
we write, but when something comes through, like at the moment, I was yesterday, funny enough, I was on LinkedIn and I saw someone do a post being like, Frozen's coming in and it's going to be cool. And I'm like, we wrote about that 2 years ago. And that's really satisfying, because there's a hierarchy of how trends come through. You've got like the real people that almost make the trends, and then you've got the people that are reporting on them, and then you've got people that are like the secondary adaptive brands, and then you've got the bigger guys, and then you've got the people that are like, oh wait, something's happening. And you've got to have all those layers there to make trends happen, for things to become mainstream. Everyone's got to be talking about it, but it's really satisfying when you've really stated something's going to come, and then it comes, and you're like, I could screenshot our report and be like, told you. That's a really nice feeling.
And at what point does something for you feel like, oh yeah, this is going to be a trend? And like, what does that research process look like?
It's constant. It's a constant approach. Like, we have a trend report goes out in September, October, but we start doing research in November. Like, it's literally a year-long process of constantly looking at stuff. And obviously I do the Friday post, and we do the juicy news. So we're constantly filtering into that. But I think because we always have an ear to the ground and we're constantly looking at what's going on, it's a bit easier perhaps for us to sort of see those things. If I see something come up 3 times, I'm like, there you go, that's something that's happening. Or more importantly, it's not about just looking at CPG or hospitality, it's about a wider lens. So we look at pop culture. Pop culture is so essential to trends, it's unreal. If you think about cowboys, and Beyonce were really in, and now we're seeing this sort of like cowboy farmer driven stuff, like it all flows. And we
Yeah.
were saying in our trend report last year how we believe after we leave India, which we're verging into now in terms of trends, we're kind of, Korea will always be big, but now we're sort of going into India, whether it's the ashwagandha type ingredients, or whether it's like tikka and masala flavors. After that, we've really stuck our hose in the ground and said that we think that Africa as a continent is going to be where we see lots of flavor inspiration. And there are
Yep.
obviously so many different inspirations from there, whether you look at Ghana and Nigeria, or you look at more sort of niche places where it's like maybe they have a very particular flavor note of a particular dish, or whether it's a generic flavor. We're going to start seeing that coming through. And the reason we believe that is if you look at pop culture, some of the biggest global superstars are from African descent. So whether that's Thames, who is so proud of her heritage and he talks and raves about, I mean, a lot of her videos are even shot in Africa, different places. And then you have people like Burna Boy, then you have football stars that are on Rising, then you have different markets and different audiences that are following these people. What they're doing, that's what we want to start to see in our lives. So when you see those stars rising and that sort of impact coming through, that's when we'll start to see those other impacts. But I think a really, really key thing about looking at trends is always looking beyond your category, because if you just wait to see what's happening in your category you're following, you've got to look outside, even like health and well-being outside of supplements. You know, what's the trend with hygiene at the moment? So that hand sanitizer brand, oh, the name has just escaped me.
Is
It's
it
an
like
American.
the clear one?
Yeah, what is that
Yeah.
name? Just
Oh.
escaped
It's got
me.
the hand on
Yeah,
it.
that one. Well, that brand, which I'll remember after, you know, they have modernized what sanitization looks like. And that has now influenced so many other brands to come through, not just in that space, but they're like, how do I make that effect for the product I'm in? So whether that's a mouth spray, whether that's tissues, whether that's
Mm,
toothpaste, now that effect has come through. So now other brands are doing it. So you really have to like look further afield. Look at fashion. Like at the moment, we're seeing so much influence from Indian culture fashion. We look at like
yes.
saris and the way that skirts sit, or the scarves that are coming
Oh
through. Like
yeah.
you'll see so many videos of Indian ladies talking about you guys are wearing outfit X. And it's because that's from a culture that we're essentially taking, stealing, however you want to look at it from, but that is influence from somewhere. So you really have to have a wider lens to see where that influence like all comes through.
I love it. It's all connected.
All connected. Like
I,
that's the thing. Like my partner always says, he's like, "You're on TikTok again." And I'm like, "You have no idea
it's all connected.
essential TikTok is to my work. Like it's so essential. Like one trend, sometimes they're just viral moments, but I have to understand what's going on to be able to then know the wider picture. Because if we're like at the moment, you know, there's a whole thing about clean girl makeup is out. Have you heard about?
I kind of heard about that, and then there was like, oh, like mob wife makeup
Yeah.
is in
And the
instead, and then
way
that's kind
Kim
of
came to the Oscars with her
yeah,
messy hair and her like kind of Claudia Winkleman style makeup. And I
yeah,
think, you know, that's just, again, it's another wave. So it's like, what does that mean? Are we back in the clubs? Are we wearing
I
heels again now? And if that's the case, what does that mean for everything else? And if that
yeah,
means that clubbing's in and dressing up is in and, you know, glamour makeup is in, what does that mean for every single other industry? Does it mean for food and beverage that martini is going to become the number one cocktail because martini is so
mm,
chic and strong and it looks very aesthetically pleasing? Or does it mean that actually we're going to lean heavily into opulence food? Like, is caviar going to be the thing that we
yeah.
see everywhere? Or is it like, I don't know, crab legs are going to be so in because it's so over the top, and you know, those things all filter down to wider ideas.
Oh, fascinating. It's like in my personal opinion, I feel like we're in if 2020 was the 2008 financial crash, I feel like we're in like 2013 hyperpop era now.
Mm, yeah.
Like Flow just dropped a song that is basically, I was like, oh, wait, I was like, this is giving very much like Pussycat Dolls, like Bratz
Oh, okay.
era.
Like the girl groups are back, aren't
I
they?
was
Like
like,
they're
we're here
in.
again.
And
Like,
Pussycat Dolls are back.
yeah, I was like, we're here again.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what Coachella looks like this year. I feel
Ooh.
like Coachella really is a
Black
good
crowns.
pin of like, yeah, of like the Y2K girlies. Like last year, obviously, we all had a brat summer, clearly. This year, what are we having? Like, and I watch a lot of girls that do these thrifting videos because they typically really tell me where the looks are going to come from. And then when you know where the looks are going to come from, that tells me what sort of activations a lot of brands are going to have. And at the moment, I'm
Mm.
seeing a lot of like people referencing a lot to like High School Musical. Those guys that were in it, what they were wearing on like red carpets and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so we want to be like scarves around the neck and like cutesy little buttons
Yeah.
and stuff. And I'm like, okay, so we're not, it's kind of Y2K, but it's a bit more grown up in that sort of era, which makes me think like, what are those activations going to look like? And how is that going to like translate? Because Coachella is a really good cultural moment in the year, I think, that sets a lot of what's cool for the sort of summer ahead.
I think this is going to go out around the time of Coachella, so
Okay,
that's
interesting.
perfect.
Keep your eyes peeled. Let's see what they're wearing. I'll send you a video after, but this girl, she's so great. I love her. She does a lot of thrifting and she's like super cool and she's wearing a lot of bra skirts and remember slouch boots when we all
Oh,
loved to.
yeah.
They're wearing gemstone belts, which is kind of like a continuation, but it's evolved maybe from Y2K. We're going like 2 or 3 years further down the line, which is kind of where I think, the big, the hat. Remember when everyone wore a hat? Everyone loved a hat.
I like the fedora,
Yeah,
like,
everyone loved a fedora. We
or
loved it.
like the wide brimmed,
Yeah,
like, yeah.
exactly. So again, it's like, well, what does that mean for everything else? Like, it kind of coincides with what you just said about girl groups being back then. That was a really good time for girl groups. So, what else does that mean is going to come in? Is it like, I can't think of anything right now from a beverage stance. Probably something neon colored, I would imagine. Something
Mm,
bright. I think it would have been like, do you remember that drink Jack's?
no,
It
I
was
don't
like
know.
a purple colored cider. It was strong. It was strong. And you
Okay,
could
well, we've got busballs now,
in a
so
bottle. Yes, Buzzballs,
yeah,
exactly.
so
Buzzballs are killing it. I think their brand it took them years though to get to this point, but now they're just like killing it. And the girly pops love it.
yeah.
Have you had one?
I haven't. I'm like a little bit shook to
Oh my
try
God,
one.
they literally will blow. I was going to say something really inappropriate for a podcast then. I remember this is not a chit chat, this is work. It will blow your mind. It will literally like they're really strong, but they also are like so, 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 so sugarific. They're like 300 calories, I think.
Oh, it's interesting. Yeah, see, I'm not much of a sweet drinks girly. I prefer the more like a herby, botanical
I mean, I don't think
flavors.
anyone's drinking this from enjoyment.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
I think they're drinking it on a mission. It's like 10% or something.
It's
It's
functional.
wrong. Yeah. So I think you're drinking it for a reason. There's
That's fair.
purpose behind the beverage.
That's fair. I could talk about this all day.
Yeah. It's
Like,
not, I've derailed this massively.
I love it. But I want to find out more about Juicy Brick. And so, what did that first version of Juicy Brick look like for you as a team, and how has it changed or evolved since then?
So when we launched Juicy Brick, it was literally in the midst of COVID. Smith and Sinclair was acquired, and we was all, what are you going to do next? Like it's the middle of COVID, and we don't know what's going on. And the guys were like, we should do this. Like, come on, let's do this. And this sort of business is off the back of what we used to do at Smith and Sinclair. We used to do my channel, my actual role was brand partnership. So we would create products using the ones that we already have, i.e., cocktail gummies and glitter dust, and white label it. And for anyone that doesn't know what white label means, it's you use that product as a base recipe and you tweak the color, the flavor, the packaging for someone else that wants it. So you essentially give what you already have and tweak it for their needs so that they can use it for whatever reason. So we used to work quite extensively with Tanqueray, for example, and we used to do our gummies for them, non-alcoholic, but gin and tonic flavors. And they would use that in global travel retail worldwide to sample their products. So we'd already sort of tapped into that, and that was the area that I very much looked after.
Yeah.
Think about how we can enhance that and what we can do to be this offering where we know people need someone that isn't a PR agency that comes up with the ideas and then goes, who's going to make it? Be this partner that can be like, we can come up with those solid ideas for you and we can make it and we'll deliver it for you. So we'd already carved out a niche where we knew people were working with us because we could do all three elements. But we also knew that there wasn't really anyone else in that space. It was either the PR agencies coming up with ideas and then someone in that team having to go out, find a specific supplier for that product, go and work with them to produce it. And it was all quite long and laborious, and there was never any guarantee that was exactly what you wanted because you'd ask someone else to make it. And then there's other people that are sort of R&D kitchens and labs, but they're so specific about what they do. So you might go and work with, for example, with talking with someone about a bespoke vodka, you'd work with the bespoke vodka guys, but they, not that they're not flexible, but they know what they're doing. So they'll tell you what works. Whereas what we're trying to do is create things that are different and are disruptive, which those
Mm,
guys don't always necessarily get. They're like, but this sells, so why aren't you doing what sells? And you're like, because I don't want to do that. So when we launched, it was very much about alcohol. That was our absolute client base. We didn't have anyone in food. So for the first 2 years, we just did alcohol, and the Diageos, the Bombays, the William Grants. We worked with those extensively, and we, did a great job at building those relationships further than we had. And we expanded into the US territories, which was amazing, and worked a lot with those teams there, which is a huge opportunity because the US compared to the UK is just massive in terms of volumes
mhm.
and how different that is. So we grew the business in that sense. And then 2 years in, we were like, why don't we do this for food? Why don't we?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a conversation pretty much along the lines of, shall we try? And we just started reaching out. LinkedIn is easily the best sales tool anyone can have. And if you're not utilizing it, you have got a massive free missed opportunity there to
Mhm.
start reaching out to brands that you never thought you could get into a room. There's one message and you could be in the room with them, and you have to use it. And that's what we did. So we reached out to tons of different food brands. We reached out to like talent agencies and founders. Talent agencies a bit later actually, but we reached out to loads of companies to be like, we create food and beverage products, and these are some examples we've done, which
Yeah.
are heavily in the alcohol space, but we can do it for anything. And people were like, oh, okay, we could help with this project, or we need something for this. And it just changed. And it's so lucky that we changed because the alcohol space is evolving. And as Gen Z are sort of, taking charge of what that looks like for the future, it is different. I don't agree with anyone that says, oh, alcohol is dying. It's most certainly not. Alcohol is always going to be here, and there will always be rows in your supermarket full of alcoholic products. But the way that they consume is different. And that's where there's a massive, change. It's like they want quality products, or they want something that's maybe more in between the sort of ABVs that we're used to. They also, aren't the binge drinkers in the parks that our generation probably, you know, not shading either of us, but I'm assuming one or two times that might have been us. It's just different. And their focus is in a different area. So whether it might be on mushrooms or whether they're
Yeah.
wellness focused, they do still drink, but it might be that they have one and then they have a non-alcoholic in between, or whatever that looks like. It's just a different demographic, which means that the spend of these alcohol agencies and companies changes because they have to go with the times and what they need to, stay alive in whatever way they.
Yeah.
So the needs of the alcohol spaces is adapting and changing, which for us is great, because if we had just stayed in the alcohol space, that could have been perhaps a bit scary and maybe, a bit more challenging. Whereas now we've adapted into the food space, it has given us so much more opportunity to grow and evolve. And we really enjoy doing the food projects. We really love it. And it's something that we really want to continue to grow. And every time we hope it's something new so that we can, expand into other areas as well.
I also want to touch on something you said there. You talked about kind of branching out into the US. Like, how different is the scene for CPG brands in the UK to versus the US?
They're different. They definitely have similarities, but scale is a really big thing. The UK, is basically one state, if that. Like, we're much smaller. So
Yeah.
the US has probably more opportunity because there is more scale there. Things to overcome, like distribution across America, is a massive undertaking and it's huge. So you have to sort of decide where you want to launch state by state and then grow that way. I also think the consumers in the US are different from the UK. I think consumers in the US are more open to trying new things. Like if there's a new product at the end of Target shelves, they'll be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll try that. And it's not so much led by budget. Whereas in the UK, I feel like we're more inclined to try something new because there's an introductory offer, which is something to do with,
Yeah.
which is difficult because if you don't have to worry about price to begin with, you've got a sturdier leg to go off of. Whereas if you've got a discount or you've got to figure something out, that's a harder starting point to go for. I also think the US is just more open to newness as well.
Yeah.
I think we're in the UK, we are very brand loyal and I think we like what we like. And it's hard to get someone to try something new in a category that already exists. Like if you were launching a new Chris brand, that would be hard without much financial backing to really get going. I've seen brands do it and they can do it, but it is absolutely hard work to do that. Whereas I think the US is probably like, oh, that's new, I'll try it. I think they're just more open, and maybe that's because they have more disposable income. But I also think the US has just got this scale, which is so different to the UK. If you can get into a Target, for example, that's like thousands and thousands of stores. Whereas in the UK, you're kind of topping at probably
Yeah.
2000. So there is just a different world in that you go to. I think a lot of UK brands want to launch and then go to the US because there's so much opportunity there, which I completely understand. And then there's a whole thing of, do you continue to produce in the UK and ship it over, or do you then find a US supplier to produce your goods and do it from there? Like it's really not easy to make these decisions, and everything comes down to cost, I think, at the end of the day.
And what is the biggest piece of advice you can give to any UK brand at the moment that is trying to cross it over to the US? What's a mistake that you commonly see people trip up on?
I think it's like, okay, we've launched in the UK, now let's launch in the US. I think you need to really have a good case study from the UK to take to the US because ideally, if you're going to do that, you want to launch in store somewhere, I would imagine, because you then have a core base and then you can do the D2C and all that. It's easier to actually get delisted than it is to get relisted. So, like, if you're going to get delisted from somewhere because maybe you were too quick, or maybe you weren't set up in time, or something went wrong, to try and get that listing again is so difficult. And I think it's like, you want to do it all, you want to rush, which I get because the opportunity's there, but just make sure that you have got everything lined up because you don't want to mess up that opportunity because you said yes without really thinking of the optics and the operations that go behind it. Because
Mm.
if you mess up that opportunity, you have to wait for someone to leave that job and get a new person in there to pitch again, and it's hard work. So I think just really make sure that you've done your research, that you know whether you should be producing and sending it in the UK or the US, and also have a case study to prove what you've done so well in the UK to bring over to the US. Don't just launch D2C and then go, I'm going to launch D2C in the US, because that's a lot of money and a lot of time that you could be throwing down the drain when you might needed to just pause and wait a minute.
Fair. And on the flip side, like, do you see any common mistakes with US brands trying to launch in the UK? Do they have to adjust themselves in any way there?
I think we as a nation love the US, like foods, not necessarily the politics and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but we have a real fascination with US brands and food. So I think because US brands typically get quite a lot of like, they're great at their case studies basically. Like people know their
Mm.
brands, they know what it is. So we almost like crave those brands to come over. Like, for example, Chick-fil-A is now available, the sauce is available in Iceland,
Oh.
and they haven't reformulated. They haven't thought about, what's the UK profile and what do they like? No, they're just like, this is the source. And I think it works because we crave that like Americanism and we want that experience. So I don't think brands necessarily have the same problem. Also, another thing from the UK to the US on this is flavors. We
Yeah.
or real. whereas the US is more open to synthetic. So when the UK goes to the US, sometimes it might need formulation tweaking because they're like, it's not enough, or, you know, they don't know that flavor. Whereas when the US stuff come to the UK, we kind of love it. We're like, oh my God, that's ranch, or it's, I don't know, honey mustard or whatever it is. And we wouldn't typically go and buy that. If it was a UK brand that was like, oh, I'm a honey mustard brand, we wouldn't necessarily lean into it. We're
Like,
like,
ooh.
love, yeah, exactly that. Like, we really enjoy the Americanism of stuff, I think. So I don't think the US has as hard of a journey to get to the UK than the UK going to the US.
That's fair. And so this has been a journey of many years for you. What's almost like a pinch me, like where we made it kind of moment for you in the past few years?
I think McDonald's reaching out to us, that was like, oh my God, this giant knows who we are. That was really cool. And like a real moment to be like, okay, everything that we talk about, that we want to be, that we say that we do, we are doing, because it's being recognized by some big people. And, you know, to have them reach out to us compared to me pestering someone on LinkedIn for years until they finally go, what? You know, that was a really nice moment to be like, okay, that's cool. I also think going into a store and seeing your product, that's always really cool. Every time I've gone into a store and I found one of our products, I'm like, that's so cool. And I take a picture and I like send it to my mum and I'm like, look, mum, we made this. Like, that's always something that I really enjoy because it's a full circle thing. And that's another great part of Juicy Brick, is that you can actually see a product go from paper through to on shelf. And that is so satisfying that it has an end. You know, you can actually close that chapter and go, okay, we did that. I find that for me is real job satisfaction. So when we've seen, like, we do the TGI Fridays corn dogs, when we see them in Iceland, I'm always like, we did that. Oh, when we went to a bar and we saw the edible paint for Bombay Sapphire, I'm like, we made that. You know, it's a really nice feeling to, you know, see someone picking it up or buying or interacting with it or buying a cocktail with something you've done. You know, it's a really nice moment to be like, oh wow, I had something to do with that. That's
Hey,
really,
do you ever like stop people when you see them enjoying the product and being like, did you know?
oh, 100%. I'm that person. And so is my partner as well. He'll be like, my fiance made me.
Love that.
Yeah, I've got no shame. I'm like, we went to a bar recently and they had gold coated coffee beans that we made. And I was like to the bartender, oh, we made them. And he was like, oh, they're really cool. And I was like, thanks.
Love that. Not all heroes wear capes. Or is that
No,
what the
yeah, honestly, sometimes I do think you have to like just take a moment to be like, that's nice. Like, it's, you've got to like acknowledge that you've done something that you're happy with, that you're proud of. I think sometimes it's easy when you work for yourself, or, but I'm really big with being like, let's reflect and let's look and let's see like how good that is, because the moment passes quicker than you could ever imagine, and then you never talk about it again.
looking to the future, like what's next for you? Like what are you excited about?
I think with Juicy Brick particularly, we're really excited about some of the projects that we're working on. We have some really cool things that are in R&D at the moment. And I'm excited to get to the point where I can go into a store and be like, oh my God, it's there. That's really exciting. So there's been a real shift in that sort of influencer. Actually, you know what? I'll say influencer, really sticking to influencer market, where typically they would work with Dove or Prime or Elf Cosmetics to do a brand deal. And they obviously do the deal, they get X amount of money, and then what's done is done. And there's been a real shift in probably the Kardashian effect of actually wanting to own something that is theirs and
Yeah.
have, you know, almost a legacy brand that can carry them through 5 to 10 years, and ideally then have it acquired and make millions. There's a lot of people that are either becoming known for something on social media networks. So if you're a mum, maybe it's you do mum hack meals and you're like, I always make smoothie pops which are made from veggies and fruits, and when my kids ask for one, I'm like, of course you can, you're having vegetables, you can have it. Or whether it's maybe a runner that has a favorite product that they always have when they do their runs, I think they're becoming almost like specialists in those sorts of products, and their audience is really believing in them. So they're seeing an opportunity where they're like, well, why can't I create my
Yeah.
own And we've really enjoyed seeing that shift. So now we're working a lot with talent who are ex Love Island stars or influencers online that share their lives more lifestyle style, or people that are on reality TV programs that are competition led. You know, we're seeing a lot of these people come forward and be like, I'm really interested in doing this, and the area I'm interested in is X. What could I make? We're helping them bring those brands to life, which I'm really enjoying, because hopefully those influencers have more sort of edge when it comes to the marketing side of things, which then should open doors for them to be able to get their products into retailers as well, which is really exciting. And main thing for us is that product has to be good, but it has to be authentic to whoever that is. So we're really working on some fun projects, which I think people will really like when they come out. So that's something we're very excited about.
I, for one, will be looking out for all of the updates.
I'll send them to the pod. Gotta go
Yeah.
on the pod.
Hope you're enjoying the show. Would love to hear what you're thinking. Drop a comment and share your thoughts. Even better, if you're loving the show, take 2 seconds to rate us 5 stars wherever you get your podcast. It really helps other people find us. And if you want to be a guest, details in the show notes on how to sign up. Now, let's jump back in.
Well, thank you so much for taking us through your business journey. And so now we're going to go into the portion of the show which is all about things that bring you joy as a human being. And I always start this section off with music. What is your ultimate hype song?
I had one, but now he's cancelled, so I can't really have it. But my original song was Black Skinhead Kanye West.
Okay.
It gets you going, but now I can't have that because Kanye let us all down. But the song I would pick now, what would I pick? Maybe Burna Boy. And I'd probably, but which one? That's the problem.
New burner, old burner.
I'm gonna get my phone up for
Yeah.
reference here. I think no, probably Plenty.
That's a good song.
Yeah, I was doing too much. I was thinking of too many things. I think I do Plenty because it just gets me going and it makes me happy. And I'm like, okay, yeah, this is good. I can do this.
Do you have any personal policies that keep you grounded? Because you run your own business, like you have the power to just
Are you
decide.
outing us now? Are you outing us?
Just be like, I don't want to do this today, and it's fine. But like, my personal one is like no calls before 10 because it's just not happening.
Yeah, I'm okay with being flexible with like things because we work with America. Like we have to be flexible with times in the evening, so I'm okay with that. I think for me, my like barrier is you cannot WhatsApp me.
Thank you.
I don't know on what planet that was appropriate for you to think you could WhatsApp me. If I haven't emailed you and you've called me and I haven't answered, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Like that is my like, and I have some clients that have done that and I'm like, please can you email me?
Yeah.
Because I can't do this I can't have like a trace conversation with you that I then don't know where I'm at. Like I can't do that. It has to be on email or a phone call. If someone, and people have in the past, and I'm sure they've done it to you as well, been like, oh, quick question. And I'm like, oh, can you email me?
It's just like this is not the
Yeah. I've also done it wrong where I've allowed it and then I've been like, oh my God, there's no getting out of this now because I have allowed it. So now I'm super strict. I'm like, can you send me an email because I can't enable this to happen because it's hard to stop once it starts.
Literally, and people kind of feel like they can like WhatsApp you at all like hours of the day a little bit, and it's just like I'm hanging out with my family and friends, like I'm at dinner right now.
Yeah. Or
so
like the
sorry.
weekends. I had some people message me on the weekends.
Yeah, I will say Americans are definitely more in that camp. I'm just like, it's Sunday, like what are we doing?
But the work-life balance is just they're built different in America. Like it's very different. It's kind of like an always-on approach, which I'm not on board with. I can't do it.
No. Yeah, there was actually a really funny video of on Instagram I saw. It was like a French person trying to like adjust to like corporate culture. Just like, I will have lunch at my desk, and the French person was just like disgusted. It's like, what do you mean? But we should all be more French or more European.
Yeah, just more brutal. Or
Yeah.
like, where is it in Japan where they nap and they go under their table? Like, I just want to nap. If I was in an office, I'd be like, my human right is that I can nap for an hour.
I love that. Okay. But now let's talk style. How would you describe your own personal uniform? And are there any brands that you love or look to?
Never fully dressed is my entire
Ooh,
wardrobe,
I
basically.
love their social
Yeah.
media. It's so
Yeah,
good.
my personality, I would say at this stage. I like live and breathe in it. However, I feel like I am having a tweak at the moment. I feel like, I don't know, I think the print stuff is everywhere at the moment. So I'm seeing it everywhere and I'm like, ugh, no, I don't want everyone to wear the same thing as me. So instead, I feel like I'm not in my dress era. I used to wear a lot of dresses, and at the moment, I'm wearing a lot of printed, colorful trousers that are like stretchy fabric and then an oversized top. I'm enjoying that at the moment with like a dangly dramatic earring. I'm enjoying that at the moment.
So
That's the
basically,
vibe.
your outfit today.
My outfit today is exactly the
Love
uniform that
it.
I'm really leaning into. Yeah, I used to wear dresses like every day, and they would probably be 9 times out of 10 and never fully dressed. But I'm just like, oh, I can't be bothered to put a dress on right now. I just want to be like cool but comfy vibes with like a bright colored trainer. Like I love a green, a
Mm.
pink, yellow. Like I like a bright colored trainer. Add a little bit of fun.
And when it comes to beauty, are there any hero beauty products that you want to shout out?
So my friend went to Korea and bought me this toner, and it is the best toner I have ever used in my entire life. I feel like it has changed my skin. I was panicking last week because I was running out, and then I found out it was on ASOS. So I was like, this is fantastic news. And I bought the biggest one I could possibly get. And it's called, I think it's called 100 or 1000.
Oh,
It's genuinely the best toner. So I could not recommend that enough. What's it called? It's called
okay.
Anua PDRN 100 Hyaluronic Acid Booster Toner.
I think someone else has shouted out Anua on the show actually before, so
It's
I'm gonna have
it's
to add
honestly
you.
amazing. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And before we dive into
Lisa, she's the one that bought that for me. Shout out, Lisa.
the tech tools side of things, I have to shout out my own stuff here.
Go for it. You go.
For anyone who is a Notion girly, I run a monthly Notion academy called the Big Notion Energy Academy. And if you want to find out more details, look in the show notes. But how about your own tech stack? Are there any products that you absolutely cannot live without?
Useless. I'm pretty
Eh,
useless with stuff like this. Like we use Excel. Like we are the most basic business people possibly going because we're small. We're like, let's just use the basics. If Dropbox goes down, Juicy Brick is going down with it. Let me tell you that now. Every single thing that we've ever owned is on Dropbox. But yeah, we don't really do too much, if I'm being honest. I mean, it's not tech, but like I said, LinkedIn is like my number one tool for our business that I use. I think people really underuse it to benefit them. But other than that, there's not really anything. We're not cool like you. I'm not cool.
what do you use to design your carousels and images and things that you put on LinkedIn?
We use Canva for that.
Oh, okay, solid,
Yeah. I
very
mean,
solid.
she does the job. But
Yeah,
Canva, like I went on a Canva journey last year. Like I really am not good at this stuff, and we updated our website and we got some quotes for it, and I was like, I just can't, I'm just not I'm not up for it. Like I'm not up for paying for that. Let's just do it. And me and my partner Becky, we did it, and oh God, we taught ourselves everything that we could possibly do about Canva and Squarespace, and we did it all. But like, I feel like I'm a much better Canva gal now. I feel like I can do the basics, but people can do some incredible things on this.
yeah.
I see stuff and it's like, oh, made on Canva, and I'm like, I can just about take the background off of a picture, and I'm like, oh my God, I've done it.
You know, it is pretty insane. Like videos come up on my feed and people are doing all of these like hacks and like uploading CSVs and I'm
Yeah,
like, this is
it's
advanced. I'm not
impressive.
there.
But I'm really trying. I'm trying to be better at it because I think it's a skill that is really important to have actually, especially if you do your own business, because you can save so much money doing that stuff yourself, like ultimately, like, you know, we saved thousands from doing the website ourselves. And, you know, I think it's a skill that now we're like adapting into our presentations and adapting into our deck. So it's a good skill to have. It just takes time and patience to master it, you know?
Absolutely. And how are any like business resources that you look to? There could be books, podcasts, newsletters. Is there anything that, or even anything like industry level that you look to help you be a better business person?
I went through a stage of listening to like up to podcast about businesses, and I honestly I think it did more damage than anything. I think I overwhelmed myself actually by taking too much information on. So instead I kind of went a bit cold turkey on it, and I just pick and choose when I see maybe an article on Substack that really calls to me. A Substack is a great resource. That is number one that I'll read into. But I kind of backed away a bit because I was doing books, I was listening to podcasts, I was, you know, trying to find webinars, and it was actually probably a little bit more damaging than anything because I started to really doubt myself and if I was good enough to do what I was trying to do. So actually instead I'm more intentional with what I take on board and what I listen to now, and I actually use podcasts and books as a way to unwind in a kind of helps in a different way. I think it really makes me chill out, maybe after work, if I've had a busy day and I go on a walk. Like I was listening to a podcast like how to be a business bitch, and you're like, okay, no, that's not helping me. Actually, what's going to be better is I listen to like receipts, and I actually just
Yeah.
and that's helped me more. But what I do think is really good is finding channels, whether it's like industry stuff like you said. So there's a website called Trend Hunter, they're amazing. There's so many great industry people like Indie CPG, Express Checkout, The Breakthrough, Dieline. Like all of these channels are so great from a work perspective to constantly be keeping up to date with stuff. And they have such great content on there that really brings you up to date with what's happening. And aside from that, like I said, I'm more intentional, I think. If I see something that I think, oh, that could be good for me, I'll read it or listen to it. But I try not to overwhelm because I think we went through self-help obsessiveness, I think, and I was part of that. And bit of space is good.
Yeah, I feel like that is a rite of passage as a business owner.
Yes,
Just like
100%. That is the right way to put it. I think everyone does it. And there's a woman in America that's 22 and she sold her business for $1 billion. I need to read her book.
yeah.
And you're like, yeah. I found I was just listening and reading to stuff that was like generic, and it wasn't necessarily serving me. So I feel like if there's an area that I'm like, oh, I really want to get better at that, I'm like intentional with seeking out something for that to help serve me rather than just anything and everything I'll take. And, you know, there'll be something good in everything. And yeah, there is, but you can also really like drown yourself in self-help, I think.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like maybe just breathe, and maybe there's a separation that you're missing. And that's what I felt. I definitely felt like I was doing too much and being too much. And like this year my intention is really to not to be stressed and to really just like take a breather and not rush everything to get to the finish line, and instead just be like in the moment. And I feel like I'm happier for doing that, and that's a big part of the overconsumption as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Love it.
Oh, hey again. Did you know there are roughly 100,000 London business babes out there? And we're on a mission to reach as many as possible. Enjoying what you hear? To support the hours of work that goes into making this special, you can either A, consider supporting directly as a paid monthly Substack subscriber to also unlock future exclusive content for less than a coffee and a croissant. B, any brands listening? We'd love to explore ways for you to be part of the journey. C, at the very least, on your next co-working date, tell a fellow London business babe about us. Details in the show notes. Now let's jump back in.
Now let's go through your London gems, quick fire. And so you are a Northwest London girlie, did I hear that earlier?
Yeah.
Okay. And as a lifelong Londoner, do you have anything on your London bucket list?
I've never done the London Eye.
Fair enough.
I don't think it sounds good though, so I'm like, should it? I don't think I need to do it. But I felt like when I say I haven't been on it, people are like, and I'm like, oh God, is it that good? I don't think it's that good.
It's honestly It's a little bit underwhelming. It's okay. What I have flirted around with is maybe doing like a networking thing on the London Eye at some point in the future for the pod, but it's
Okay, then
okay.
I can come to that, and then
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah, I see that.
But you are well embedded within the hospitality industry in London. Like, what are some of your favorite food spots that you would want to shout out?
I love Oma. I think that's a restaurant, or Agora. They're both one in one. It's in
Mhm.
London, Borough Market. The restaurant upstairs, you can like book. The one downstairs, is a bit more like skewer pieces.
Mm.
Upstairs is more, it's still shareable, but restaurant. I think that food is absolutely divine. And if you go sit at the kitchen bar area, like sit there, watch them cook, it's like my favorite thing to do. I love that experience. Fallow is amazing as well. That is a beautiful restaurant. Again, I like to sit at the counter. That food there is exceptional. I've been told the breakfast is amazing, but I've never actually gone to breakfast. I've only had like lunch and dinner, but apparently it's beastly. It's a big breakfast. Um, Pie and mash. Like I'm a pie and mash girly. I feel like if you're from London, you have your pie and mash. Mine is in Camden. It's just by Camden Road Station, the overground. Double pie, double mash. I don't have any eels or liquor. That's too far for me. But pie and mash will always be like home cook sort of vibe. Like I go with my
Yeah.
mum. Like, it's one of my favorite things to have. And then I recently found my new favorite bar because I feel like we do lack a little bit of good bar space in London. I feel like we don't, it's like New York bar scene is exactly what I want from a bar. Like I want it to be a little bit individual. I want it to like be cool. I want to be able to talk. I want some good music. And I feel like we just do two extremes in London. We have like Barrio where it's like, "Bah," or we have really quiet pubs with no music. And I want like an in between. And the Hippodrome Casino where I used to work actually just made, I think it's actually been open for ages actually, but I went recently, a secret bar.
Oh,
So when you come into the Hippodrome, go downstairs to where their Chinese restaurant is, which is called Chop, which is also amazing. And as you
hey.
walk in to the left, there's a door. And if you walk through that door, there's another door, and that is their secret bar. And it is amazing. It's exactly what I want and gives New York vibes. They do
Oh,
mini cocktails and big cocktails, so you can choose the size of your cocktail. And they play great music, and the
I'm
service is
excited.
great. So you have to go there. That's like my new favorite find, 100%.
Okay. I love a speakeasy, so now I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
I need
really,
to.
really good. It's kind of leaning into like the listening bar trend, I would say.
Gotcha,
But
gotcha.
amazing. Love it, love it, love it.
Okay. How about like cafes and co-working? Do you have any spots that you want to shout out on your list?
So pubs are so underrated for co-working because in the day they're really
There.
quiet. We go to Adam and Eve in Soho and it is dead quiet and
Perfect.
they have nice drinks and great food and that's where we go when we're in Soho. The Hoxton, always a great spot. Love working at the Hoxton. Anywhere with a nice hotel reception area is really good.
Mm.
The Hoxton in near the London Bridge one, I can't remember what it's called. Oh, South Bank. That is a really
Yeah.
nice one to work from as well. You
Yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
my number one will be the Standard in King's Cross. I
Yeah.
love their space. It's like an old library that you can sit in. And then if you don't get space there, there's another space around the corner that does great hamburgers. And it's just a nice vibey space. There's always really cool people there. And I live in near Crystal Palace, and there's a pub called the Westow House that does an amazing co-working package. It's like £15. Yeah, £15 and you get lunch and drinks all day. And I
That's
think
so good.
it's so good, and I really love that pub. So little local shout out there as well.
Okay. Oh, so you're a South Londoner now.
Yes, I did. I betrayed my roots and I moved to South London for a boy. But now I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I would leave South London.
It
And
does
I
get
never
you.
thought I would say that. It's green and everyone's really like It's nice community vibe. Normally, if someone was to like be my neighbor in Northwest London, I'd be like, what? And here, everyone's like, hi, morning.
Definitely, there's something in the water down here.
Yeah,
I'm in Lewisham.
basically neighbors.
And are you part of any like member spaces or collectives or any?
I used to be a member of, I can't even remember the name of it. It's known for more like theatre, arts people. Century Club, that was it. Century Club, and that's on Shaftesbury Avenue, funny enough. And they have an amazing rooftop, and I was a member there and used to go and work there quite a lot. But then after COVID, I just lost my membership and was like, do you know what? I don't need to renew it. And I honestly think there's enough free spaces. I don't think you have to be, unless you're a member of something for like community purpose. I don't know if you have to be a member of something. You know, there's so many spaces, and you'll often find a lot of people co-work at the same place over and over again. So you can kind of build your own community if you wanted to as well.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
Don't worry if it's a lot to take in. All of the amazing tools, spots, and recommendations mentioned by our guests can be found in the Coffee and Oysters guide. Details in the show notes.
And so, thank you for sharing. All of your recs are going to be in your profile page and the guide linked in the show notes. And so, to round off, I love to reflect. You said you're also a fan of reflecting. Is there a recent win that you want to shout out for yourself, and is there a win that you want to shout out for someone else as well? Spread the love.
Who would I like to shout out? I think for me, a win for me personally has been this year. This is more of a operational thing, but we had no financial operational issues. Again, when you have your own business, I feel like you're constantly dealing with something, like a project's going wrong. And honestly, just to have Q1 with no fatalities and no issues, I'm taking as a massive win, because it just makes you so much less stress and it allows you to focus on the future. Because otherwise, you're just consistently fighting fires and it doesn't allow you to look forward. And I want to recognize the fact that this Q1 has gone really well and we've not had to fight anyone.
Yeah, that's
which is a nice feeling. So I'm going to take that as a big win for us. And then someone else, who else have I got? My friend she decided to go a bit off rig, and she went to Goa and did a solo trip by herself and has got her yoga license. And I'm very proud of her for going away and doing something that she really wants to do, and, you know, just putting herself first. I think that's really admirable when people do that. And I think it's really easy for other people to say like, oh, you know, well, I've got to work or whatever. Well, she put herself first, and I think that's really admirable.
And is there anything that you want to plug? And is there anything that you need help with? You never know who's listening.
No, anyone that wants to make any food and beverage product, come and talk to me. That's what I want. I want someone who has got an idea that they're sitting on and they're like, do something about it. That's what I would like you to do, is get up, email us, and do something about this idea, because a good idea can be sat on forever and then someone's going to do it and you will talk for the rest of your life that you had that idea first, but it won't matter because someone else did it. Help wise, we're always open to meeting people that do any sort of graphic design, any sort of, if you've worked in CPG and you can do dye lines, renders, that sort of stuff, we're always open to hearing from people like you. And then what I want to plug in, on the 8th of April, I will be doing a talk at Mission Kitchen, which is where we are based. Emil, my business partner, is our head of innovation. He's there every day. And then I go with Becky once a week. I'm hosting a conversation which is all around trends. So it's about how to spot a trend, what is the lifespan of a trend, how do you kind of get a bit more ingrained with finding what trends are. And that's on the 8th of April at Mission Kitchen, and tickets are available on Eventbrite.
Oh, what I'll do is I'll pop that in the newsletter, because this is going to go out after that, but I still want people to know about
Thank
this.
you.
So...
I appreciate it. And
You're welcome.
follow me on LinkedIn, and yeah, see the post that I do on a Friday and see what you think.
All swell. And then final question. Dream big. What's a dream collaboration for you? You mentioned McDonald's earlier, but is there anyone else on your bucket list that you're like, we need to work with this person?
I would love to do like a CPG product for someone that I really like. So like Stormzy, Dave, T-Pain, Ray, Olivia Dean. Like, I would love to work with someone that I really like and respect. I think I would be able to like really nail what the product should be. I would love to do something like that can then really launch with a bang and grow with scale, and constantly look at it and be like, wow, we had something to do with that. That would be my dream, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I feel like Ray and Olivia Dean could be like so interesting because they've both got this like very defined
Yeah.
aesthetic and vibe around them
Yeah.
at the moment, and how it's like, how do you translate that into
Yeah.
like
I would love
food?
that. We did have an idea once for Stormzy, which I don't know whether I should say it or not. I'll say it. We wanted to do a product range in the dog food space because he loves his dogs so much. Wanted to do a product range which is either about like hydration or protein for dogs, and him have his dogs. I think one of them passed away, but have his dogs as like the main thing of the brand. Because the other thing I think people get wrong with that sort of stuff is when they think that the product has to be so obviously direct to them. But actually, if you do something a little bit different, like, oh my God, I love Melissa's wardrobe. Mel made me do it. I don't know if you know, she's amazing. Her doing laundry scents, honestly, work of art. Hang it in the Louvre. Smart. Love. Think that is incredibly smart decision from her. And that sort of stuff, I think, is just perfect.
Thank you so much for all of the gems that you have dropped today. For people who aren't following you on LinkedIn, please go follow Grace on LinkedIn and soak up even more of the gems. But it has genuinely been such a pleasure having you on today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it. And like I said from the beginning, we could talk for hours, and I know we've already gone over. So
I don't want to cut this short, but
it's so easy to talk to you and we just flow. So I love it. Thank you so much for having me in again.
It's my pleasure.
Thanks for listening. Get in touch at coffeeandoysters@gmail.com. Stay connected at Coffee and Oysters Pod on TikTok and Instagram. And never miss out by subscribing to Substack. Details in the show notes. And most importantly, keep those 5-star ratings coming, and see you next time.